One of the biggest complaints that we get is from business owners about how to deal with the homeless that might be negatively impacting their business because they're camped up in their alcove, or they're begging for money or asking for money, and it is affecting to where they're hearing their customers won't come down.
We're regularly calling the police because of fights or broken bottles down behind our office. We also have had to clean up human feces behind our office to help solve some of the problems downtown. After cleaning up feces in the back of our office last summer, we decided to go ahead and put some 2-ply up in case somebody needed to use it. If the city can't provide a bathroom, then we're happy to do our part.
We get calls, people living in the bushes around buildings and homes, living in the canals, in the parkways. Now I'm getting calls, the homeless kind of taking over the new Park Plaza. The problem is not that they don't have a right to be there. This is America. They can be there. They're unsettling to a lot of people, and they scare people, and then people don't want to use the plaza, and so they call us, and there's really not a lot we can do.
I mean, the reality is that nobody wants somebody wandering around the neighborhood that's homeless.
Before, I used to be on that side of town. They kicked us all out.
Didn't have anything. Pretty good thought that he'd steal something if he had the opportunity.
I mean, I take off in the morning, and I pray to God every day that I come back and my tent's not gone.
I mean, lots of reasons to have a built-in bias against people that don't have enough money to buy food and have a home. It's fear.
So that's why we keep it really quiet where we are, because we're afraid that we'll end up losing our stuff.
We have an element of not only habitual homeless, but we have transient homeless, and we have transient people that just don't want to work and they want to live off society, and so they're a lot of the problem with the aggressive panhandling and things like that. Very often the true homeless, they don't want to be around crowds, they want to be away, but then we have a problem like in Children's Park, where they try to make the park their home, and they make the park everything from their toilet to their dining area.
Just last week when I made contact with several homeless people, 3 of them had out-of-state licenses that were here. People are showing up from out of state just because they know that there isn't going to be too much of a hassle here for them in Chico. It's a lifestyle, and we talk to them, and we say, why don't you go on over to the Torrey Center or the Jesus Center or whatever? Oh, we can't do that. They have rules over there.
I see people who choose to be homeless, for them it's an easier way to live. Another category is I see mental illnesses that they fall through the cracks. And then I think there's the group that live from paycheck to paycheck, that something has happened, that they can't pay their rent, they can't pay their PG, and they don't have family support or people that can help them, and before they know it, they're homeless.
Many of them are accessing services and working through the homeless system, meaning getting off the streets, getting into an emergency shelter like the Jesus Center, the Sabbath House, or the tourist shelter, moving on into transitional shelters.
Well, the Jesus Center has been a tremendous resource to Chico in many, many ways. It has for many years in our community fed people on a regular basis.
And one of the things that Bill said that he wanted to accomplish was to not just feed people, but to do his best to see if he could get people back on their own. So what Bill and I talked about was looking for people with an attitude that seemed to express a desire to make a change. And just because they have the attitude doesn't mean that they're willing to do what's required, but if you don't start with the attitude, you've got a pretty big chasm to cross.
But at the same time, it takes time for that person to come to an awareness of what God is doing in his life. It may be that he stops swearing to start with, and he's not cursing around everyone. I don't know. In other words, there's tiny increments of change. So I'm always looking for the small increments of change, and then I see what happens. They have made a commitment to God, and I accept that it's real and it's genuine, but they've not faced the world yet. I mean their world, the world that happens when they come and get on the streets in Chico and they start meeting their old friends and they have to decide what to do to get a job, and they have to face rejection because of the way that they look, and then they have the old pangs of coming back where they know that there are people who they can get drugs from, or they don't know what to do in the day if they haven't got a job, where they're going to hang out. They go down to the City Plaza or Bidwell Park, they meet people that they know. That's the test then. The thing that I can't take, it's not the drunkenness, not somebody who's made a commitment and then shows up drunk. It's when somebody gives up. The thing about the grace of God is I don't know what's going to happen. I've seen people like that, and I've seen them change. It doesn't happen that often, but it happens enough for me to give me hope.
Once I got involved with this second person, it was probably less than 6 months where I lost my job. I had a nice car that I was co-signed with the first boyfriend. So I lost the car again, lost the house again. Him and I were actually living in a tent in the winter down at the river because I couldn't find anywhere for me to live with him. Nobody wanted to take him in too. And my son, I had put him with another couple where from a kid from school's parents until I could get back on my feet. And I was trying to go to work. He was trying to go to work. But the more we tried, the more we just got buried. And of course, he was an alcoholic. And so it became just me working, and I'd come back and he'd be frustrated that he was left in a tent in the heat because the winter became summer. And he would drink himself so he was so sick, from the heat and everything. And so he finally went back to Redding, and there I was.
I didn't have a whole lot of money saved up, so when the fire season had ended, I had about a couple $1,000s in my pocket. I eventually moved in with my couple friends, and here in Chico, and it didn't work out because they like to party a lot. I didn't feel like I could really relate with them, and so I just said, I'm living in my van. Yeah, forest ranger kind of knocked on my window. He said, man, I know some people that can help you, and he gave me a card, and I said, I don't need any help. Basically, I can do it myself. I can get on my feet by myself, and so I stayed in my van for a while until it got really, really, really cold. And then so I got the card. I called up the tourist shelter to live there, and then the people from the tourist shelter know where to get food. They go to the Jesus Center, and from the Jesus Center, here I am.
Me and my wife ended up separating, and I came back to Redding. I got a job there working for Interstate Battery for about 4 years as a route sales manager, had 14 routes. I was unhappy, so I moved to Mount Shasta, and I worked for a tow truck company up there. And then things were just really tight. All the mills closed down. Working up there, you had to have 2 jobs, to survive. And I met a girl and took her and her 2 daughters in, and things fell apart. Next thing I know, I got an eviction notice on my door. I had a major skiing accident, and I ate it, compressed both ankles. I had to walk on my knees for a month and a half. Next thing I know, I was living in my car. I've been here in Chico, on and off on the streets for 3.5, 4 years now.
So I started writing checks for myself. Being a bookkeeper and accountant and everything else I was portraying, I was trying, I was doing my best. I just wrote myself paychecks and signed her name and cashed them, and I went to prison for forgery. I was sleeping in my car outside a friend's apartment. They came out and asked me if I wanted to come in and Monopoly, but it wasn't come in and play Monopoly. It was come in and do drugs. But I didn't know what it was. It was speed, meth, crank, whatever you want to call it. And I had no idea. I had no idea. I have not wanted to be homeless in this town for as long as I've been homeless in this town. I've really never wanted to be homeless ever. And I really never considered myself to be a homeless type person or a derelict or a threat to society or anything like that. I'm a high-class personality. I like myself and I got good qualities. I don't steal anymore. I got 15 years behind, I got 15 years of not doing anything. So I'm good. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'd rather have a job.
The table, in a way, it sort of represents Chico. It represents who we are and how we can possibly help you. I don't know. I want to ask you, what are your expectations? What do you think that we can do?
No, I've got a lot of experience in 100 different areas. I pretty much can do anything that anybody tells me to do. You hand me the equipment. Okay. Can't put me in that position. I'm old enough. I'm not stupid. I'm responsible more than I've ever been, even for a homeless guy.
Now, since I've known you, you've had jobs at different times as a...
I work every chance I get. Yes. I mean, everybody that will hire me, anybody.
But you can't seem to get beyond a situation where you don't need us at the Jesus Center or you've got your own plate.
What would success be for you in the next 3-4 weeks, next month, next 2 months? What would success be?
Success for me right now, it'd have to be money. Because the avenues in which I want to flow and take larger amounts of money than your everyday Joe working job, pay the rent, pay the bills, have a couple bucks left over. I'm beyond all that.
So in all of that and what you've said then, where does it look like would be a good starting place?
Money. I'm held back by no money.
Okay, like for instance, if someone were to offer you a job today that you would think, wow, this is what I've been waiting for, what would that job look like?
I'd have to be an executive board member of a large amount of money.
Okay.
To delegate money to improve the lifestyle and change the lives of homeless people that are able to take care of themselves once given a boost.
Well, what you're saying to me is very noble in one sense, but not realistic in the sense that you need something that gets you so that you can be self-sufficient.
A lot of money. It takes a lot of money to put me into the lifestyle that I believe I should be in.
So if I said to you, why are you homeless right now, what would you say?
Because I didn't manage my money well.
Okay.
What's your current plan?
I already have a job at Hometown Buffet. I have $100 in the bank now since I've gotten a job. I'm currently planning on marketing a product that an energy drink company networks through my business, and so I'm marketing that product. And I want to get that product out into the Chico area. I think it's really great.
What have you got any expectations of us?
No, just because I know I can do it myself.
What do you think?
I guess what I'm curious about is what do you see as a barrier to
That's a good question.
To your self-sufficiency?
I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with anybody else but myself.
Okay.
I just don't get too close to people.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, I look at your situation, you're well-spoken, you know, you're in a good spot, you're likable, you're funny. I just hate to see that you're alone. And I don't know an easy fix or patch for that. I think you do need to push ahead and risk failure, but I really would be scared for you that if when you experience failure, you're by yourself. And it really scares me.
I'm going to ask you to do this for next time we meet. I'm going to ask you to find 3 things in the Bible that would encourage you to look at yourself and say, I can cope with life. I am made in God's image. I'm of value. You know, can you do that?
Yeah. Well, here I am. I'm the next Lance Armstrong. That was fast, huh? Let's see.
I mean, you don't look homeless to me. You look very well put together.
Well, I am homeless, but I'm in a home. I am staying at the transitional house through the Sabbath house, through the Jesus Center.
So what is it that you're doing now? What is it that you'd like to do?
What I'm doing now is working in a convenience store gas station. I have a license to do hair.
Like, what would success be for you in the next 30, 60 days? What would it be?
Pay off some old bills so I can then get a car, to get a different job, to get a better paying job. I don't plan to be at the transitional house forever. There's a time limit. So at least when I leave there, I want to be able to pay rent. Well, I have been successful before, but I don't think I felt like I deserved it. I just didn't think I was worthy of it.
There's a statement that Jesus says in the Gospels. He says that God knows the number of hairs on your head. Could you, for 7 days, just say to yourself out loud, God knows the number of hairs on my head?
Like today, just for the heck of it, instead of sitting around my camp all day, I got on my bike. I'm finding aluminum cans and plastic just to make a few dollars. You know, instead of sitting at camp, dwelling. I ask people constantly, you need a laborer, you need anything, I'll do anything for you. I have a lot of skills.
What kind of work have you done in the past?
I worked for Chevron. I sailed all around the whole United States. I worked on tugboats in San Francisco Bay. I worked on drilling rigs, done construction, landscaping, both sides of it. Route sales manager for Interstate Batteries for 4 years. Drove a big old 8-bay truck, commercial license, welding, everything. I've got a dream to get certified. You just got to take a class for, I think it's like 6 weeks. And that's it. I already know how to weld and everything. I've done welding, torching, all kinds of stuff. I'm working for Labor Ready.
Okay. What happens there? You get down there early in the morning?
Yes, sir. You go at 6 in the morning. You got to be there at 6 in the morning. You sign in.
Yeah.
Okay, and you sit. And you pray that you go out on a job.
Okay.
And if not, I usually wait till about 8 or 9 so I can make it to the Jesus Center to get my shower. 'Cause I hate being dirty.
If you get a job with Labor Ready, is there any guarantee that you can get it? Because it's only temporary, isn't it? That it can become a permanent job?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
Okay. What about, I mean, at our resource center, there's a list that comes out on a daily basis of jobs that relate to, you know, cooking or dishwashing, etc., or basic janitorial work.
I would take any one of them.
Those postings come out. I get them 2 or 3 times a week.
I've been checking on it.
Yeah.
Is it feasible to say you can go down to Labor Ready, given the weather that it is, because it does look, the increments of weather is going to be pretty rough this week?
Yes.
Okay. What time do you have to be down there?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. We will see you next time, next week.
Okay.
And let's take it up from there and see how our relationship develops to get you, to help you to become self-sufficient.
Okay. Sounds great.
It's cold, my alarm's going off. Now I'm still sleeping. I called Carla at Labor Ready, and she didn't know if there was any work or nothing. but we can do what we can do. Always try to find work as much as possible, and hopefully there's something, but if not.
Now, Shelley, is your driver's license back in good standing now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you do have a driver's license?
Yeah, I have a driver's license. And
okay.
You're working at downtown?
I'm working at a convenience store gas station right now, just for some income, because I've paid off, having that job, I paid off all my court fees. I can find work, can find jobs. The problem is once I start doing good, and I rise up and I raise up, then I sabotage myself.
If you've infiltrated, in a sense, yourself, that your mind is so oriented that you're no good, you sabotage yourself, you're ready to go, you need all this work, and you get there, and then you start to sabotage yourself because of low self-esteem. And one way to work at it, there's lots of different ways, but one way that I think is common for all of us is that you surround yourself with external thoughts that reinforce that you are of value.
It's hard to I'm having a problem turning my whole mind differently after all these years of thinking that I really was nothing, that I didn't deserve it. I think I'm a little closer to trying to say, yeah, I am somebody.
Yes.
I deserve it. But you can say it, but I haven't felt it all the way.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm at.
So you've got counseling. You've got this notion that I wanted to plant in you, which is that God is for you. God knows the number of hairs on your head, so he knows every single thing about you. That also that you start to surround yourself with people who are positive. People, basically people who are going to encourage you, who are going to help you rather than say people who will pull you down.
I think that's been the biggest change for me in probably the last 6 months. Has been, there's a whole different group of people that have been supportive, where I've been so used to everybody kind of kicking you to the curb.
How long has it been since since you hit rock bottom?
Real rock bottom, July.
I think it would be interesting to look at where you are today and just reflect on the last 8 months in terms of where you've come from. And I would encourage you to write it down. And I would love to know, in your mind, what you've accomplished in the last, half a year since July.
There's been a lot of changes.
Can we put that down then as a task that you'll do in terms of what Steve said? Because that's a further reinforcement of what I started last week when I suggested that you say that text. What about the job situation?
Penny's was the best option I came up with, where they're supplying everything.
But what is a good plan B? If not Penny's, then maybe drop a couple of other applications at other salons.
I actually have an opportunity in Grass Valley coming up here in the next month to help open up a flower shop, because I was a florist for 20-something years. That's kind of my plan B. If I really had to go to a plan C, I'd probably even look into school. I don't know.
Okay. One of the things that we've got here, we have a dentist who has said that he would give you a free examination. Then you can go and get an examination and we can take it from there. How about that?
It sounds good to me.
Do you have any special requirements as far as what you would like to see in your mouth?
I'd like to see a good smile.
Okay. You wouldn't clench probably as much.
We haven't seen you for a week. Tell us how it's gone since we last talked.
Well, unfortunately, I lost my job. I was working at Hometown Buffet.
How did you lose it?
I went there on my day off, to eat a meal, and I went up to pay, and I paid for my $3 meal, which was really supposed to be a $6 meal. And then while I was getting my food, my manager confronted me and said, how much did you pay for your meal? And I said, didn't you hear that in your orientation, and I said, you know, I mean, like, I never really listened to those. I didn't want any further problems, and I told him I'd pay the $6. But he said, you know, let's go to my office and we can talk about this more. And I said, well, I'm here to eat, and I'm on my day off, and you know, we can go to your office tomorrow, but I'm not going to go to your office. He said, well, in that case, you know, then you can just leave.
What was the problem with talking to the guy?
I think it was just the way that he approached me.
So you had terms and conditions for the way the man that employs you speaks to you when you're in his business on your day off, eating at a discount?
Yeah.
And had you gone back to the office, do you think you would still have your job?
Yeah.
Okay.
So was it worth it?
No.
That job didn't mean 2 cents to you, and you didn't care if you had it or you didn't have it. That's what's blatantly obvious. You didn't care if you were working, and you didn't care if you worked there.
That's true.
Well, why you say that really easy? I thought you'd be fighting against jobs. Unlikely. I wanted the job, but I blew it in those circumstances. I made the wrong decision. You admit it?
The only reason why I was working there was because I wanted to work on my business. And I wanted to save up enough money to where I can, like, get the ball rolling.
I would think the most important thing would be to get out of a shelter and not eat at the Jesus Center. That's what I thought that job would be for. And then when you got that established, then you could save money for your business.
So how much did you make a week when you had the job?
I was making $200 every 2 weeks.
So you're making $100 a week on the job?
Yeah. I was only working 3 days, a total of 24 hours.
So you were making $100 in 24 hours, and you gave that up so you could sell 12 items to get $100.
Yeah.
How many have you sold?
The pump hasn't come yet, so it should be here this week.
So you got to sell 50 of those in a month to make $400.
Yes.
If you had a basic job where you're pulling in whatever it is per week that you know that's stable, then you could do this either in your spare time to see whether there's a market for it where we are, and whether you'd be good as a salesman or marketer in respect to this. That's something that my mother sort of thing would tell me, you know, that I would have to do. What do you think of that?
Well, that's what my mother's telling me.
Chad, the other thing that's going through my mind is that I'm wondering if you're aware that there are people who have worked the day job for a really long time so that they could do the dream job or whatever that was, and then you're staying in a shelter which is provided by the funding of the people that work.
Well, from what I understand, I think isn't the shelter, don't they get government grants?
Who do you think pays for the government grants?
The debted government.
How does government get money?
From taxpayers.
Yeah. And how do taxpayers get money?
Working.
To pay,
Okay.
yeah.
We can all see where this is going. Let me put it back on you. You're obviously getting a bit of a front here, which says that we don't think this is a good idea, but we do want to help you. For example, I did a check here from One Stop Employment Center and came up with about 12 jobs that are similar to the hometown buffet job. Is that the kind of help that you would consider?
With the recognition that this is not your dream job. We understand that for certain. And quite frankly, it may not be a job you particularly enjoy. You know, I worked 1.5 years at McDonald's. I worked 1 year at Target. I mean, everybody jokes about McDonald's, but I learned a ton at McDonald's, and it was not great work for 1.5 years, but I did it. I grew from it, and now I'm very far away from McDonald's.
But I cleaned urinals for 2 years. Urinals. People piss in it.
Okay, he beat my story on the kids.
I was going to say, can't beat that one, sorry.
Okay.
So I could get what I needed.
What do you think? What can you offer Chad to do in the next 7 days then, where we can help him on the level of what you're talking about?
First thing, he needs to decide that he needs money. He hasn't decided he needs money.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't think he needs money. And until he needs money, he doesn't need us.
You didn't submit to your employer, and it cost you a job. And you've definitely said, what can we do? And I think our recommendation would be to, if you want to pursue your business, not do it full-time, but really try and pursue a job and submit to the fact that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people really in complete agreement on a different course, and people that have been there before. And I think that there's wisdom in that.
What about if you spend some time with Chad and me, and we work on those very elements, and we're looking through the jobs that you could actually apply for, and that we can actually help you as you go in to apply for it and have an interview.
You know that if you don't go into that office, you're not going to have this job. But see, I'm taking it a step. I'm taking a step past that. What I'm saying is that the boy here had a smile on his face when he went in to get lunch, and he didn't have a chip on his shoulder, he didn't have a bad attitude. He was like, hey, nice day, it's a spring day, I'm having a good time, I got friends, life is good.
Okay, so Michael, welcome. Good to see you again. Tell us what's happened since we last saw you last week. What have you been doing?
Well, I got a ticket for illegal lodging.
So what does that mean for you? Does that mean then it's simply a question of just moving somewhere else where nobody is around?
Well, that's what I did.
Okay.
What else am I going to do?
Yeah. So what have you been doing since?
Doing whatever I can to find work.
We asked you to check with Juanita at the resource center.
Right.
Were you able to do that?
Yes, I do that. I pretty much go in there and check my mail every day.
Okay.
So yes, I check on job opportunities and all that stuff. And the problem I have is I don't have a driver's license.
But if you were applying for, say, a cook's job or whatever, you wouldn't need that, would you?
No.
No.
But they still ask for it because that's reliable transportation to get to work.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So, Mike, if I'm wrong, I ask your forgiveness.
What's that?
It's just, I mean, since you come in the room, I smell alcohol. Is that at play in your life or any type of?
Not really.
No?
I just I sat and sat and sat, and I just walked off and had a beer.
Just had a beer?
Yeah, that's it.
Every now and again?
Every now and then, that's it, yeah.
What we're leading to is you're drinking alcohol. Is that what's preventing you from actually giving yourself wholeheartedly to looking for a job?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I see a lot more people out there that drink a heck of a lot more than I do. And they're working. They still got their driver's license. They got, I mean, things going for them. No, I like to go have a beer every now and then just to relax, take the stress off.
What are you getting stressed out about?
My mother might not be making it very longer, and it's been a lot of stress.
What was stressful about the experience sitting out there? Were you afraid of what we were going to say? Were you afraid of what you were going to say?
No, I get anxiety.
Can I ask you whether you have made any money in the last 7 days? In other words, whether you've been to jobs and what those jobs are? Because I know in the past you've been to Labor Ready.
No, I've made money just out going canning and collecting plastic. And it's really not an easy job when you're sitting there, you're jumping in a dumpster. And, you know, you gotta be really careful. There's needles, there's sharp stuff, there's all kinds of stuff.
I had a look at one-stop employment center stuff that we have at the center. What is it that we can do and that you can do to have a go at these to see whether you can get these jobs?
Because they were there last week, too.
I can go get it myself.
But what was the thing? I mean, the jobs were there last week. And definitely
those were, I didn't know that.
Well, if not those, something very similar.
These are from last week.
Those are from last week.
But I wasn't informed that. I would have been there.
Now, can we hold your feet to the fire then and say that in the next 7 days, if you come back here next week and you say I applied for 7 jobs, they will shut the mouth of all these people, including myself, because we'll say, hey, you did it. It's doing it.
Did you meet with Juanita last week in the last 7 days?
Yes, I have. Check on my mail.
Juanita last week was sick. I think, in a sense, you're pulling the wool over our eyes in a second, because I agree that you check your mail. I don't think that you actually said, well, let me have a look at the job board.
But I do. And I'm computer illiterate. I don't know how to get in a dang computer.
Okay, but these are actually, I copied these from a sheet of paper that's on the desk.
And the desk says don't take the copy.
Okay,
Correct.
but you could ask Donna or somebody to copy it for you, just like I did.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. So now,
But you said you didn't know these jobs existed, which means you didn't look at the sheet.
not those ones.
But they were on the counter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's get back to the point. I mean, what would it take for you this week to do what we wanted you to do last week and work on trying to find a job?
There's nothing that will stop me.
The first thing I notice when you come in is that you look a bit different. Sometimes just a little bit brighter. What's going on?
Well, I had a friend, Lucinda, who decided to do a little makeover, and
Okay.
Looks great.
thanks,
great. Yeah.
thanks. So I have to tell you guys, I have a little secret.
Oh, boy.
I was opening the newspaper 2 days ago, and out popped an ad that they need a floral designer here in town. So I have an interview tomorrow. I have to go make them a couple things at Jan's Florist.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
So it'd be 3 days a week, and then I still keep over at the gas station job and until I find a place to go do hair.
Okay.
So everybody can relax a little bit.
So what about the Grass Valley thing? Is that still?
Well, yeah, I mean, they called yesterday, and I don't know how to tell them no.
Why can't you do that? In other words, say, this is my situation. It's a very difficult situation for me. And I have a great relationship with you. I respect you. But this is my problem, and this is what I've decided to do. They will respect you for that, surely, if they're your friends.
I mean, I don't think it's a particularly great idea to go to Grass Valley because it's a long drive. And any support network that you've developed is here in Chico.
Right.
And I think that one of the secrets to success is to focus on a couple things and do them really well. And I think anything that detracts you from that, I think will be detrimental for the long run.
What's the most important thing to you right now?
I have a job,
Okay.
but I would like a career.
How about employed, full-time at a job you like?
Yeah, that would work.
Is that somewhere close to the top?
Yeah,
Okay. And you have a job that's full or part-time?
full, it's 37 hours.
You have another job that's been promised to you,
Yes.
which
and
give you
that's
additional
7 days a
income,
week.
okay? And then you got the possibility of a third, okay? So you have one in the hand, one promised, and one that's a maybe. And what you really need is income. So I would make decisions based on that. And anything that's going to suck income away, I'd be just really reticent to consider.
I think I would be, I just don't think I'm ready to jump into hair not equipped.
Okay.
And so flowers is an outlet for me, so I could do that, keep the gas station job. And so basically I'm going to still work 7 days a week.
Now, 2 years from now or whatever, you said you wanted a career, not a job. Is hair a career or a job?
It's a career.
So as we look to getting back into hair then, do you have a savings program or do you have a bank account to begin stashing money away?
No, not yet. I've been paying off old fines and...
You need structure in what you're trying to accomplish, and you need to say, okay, my supplies are going to cost X.
I'd say starting $1,000.
So you need $1,000, all right? Then how much can you put away each week? And then that goes into 1,000. That tells you how many weeks you have to go. And then you need some reserve money for yourself and for things that you don't count on. So you need to do that, and it needs to go from here to paper so you can look at it. So you can start the day and the week and go, okay, if I put away another $50, it'll get me this many days closer. So that image that you have of wanting to go back into hairdressing and have a career has some reality, and you can see that what you do today will cause you to be one day closer.
Right, that makes sense.
And if you put it on paper and you write it down, then other people can help you with the planning and the structure that you need.
Says, why shouldn't we encourage Shelley to do one thing, which is to keep the job that she's got and then put aside money for her primarily to become self-sufficient, then to get into a place and keep that job going, and then some of these other things that we talk about can actually be brought about.
Right.
Well, I think Bill